to introduce you to our current art exhibition called Art by Gert Mathiesen. The first piece you might notice is the one right behind me. This wonderful large print on rice paper is just one of the large-scale pieces that we are thrilled to feature in our gallery exhibition on view through October 31st. Gert Mathiesen was a Danish immigrant. He was born and raised in Denmark, began his artistic career as a ceramic specialist, and later moved to the United States as his home base, settling in New York City. While in New York, he expanded from ceramics to include paintings on canvas, prints, linoleum woodcuts, and a lot of different experimental forms that sometimes combine some of those techniques. So we'll take a quick walk through to introduce you to the works here on the gallery and give you a sense of the wonderful life and vibrancy present in these works. One of the first things that visitors might notice about these works is their size. These are massive canvases. They're large, they're colorful, they are filled with bright contrasts and forms, filling these galleries with a palette that just brims with life. It's a lot of fun for us to feature probably some of the largest paintings we've ever put on our museum walls. This work is a really good example of the combination of themes that are in a lot of Gert Mathiesen's work. We see, first of all, the color palette, which just grabs your attention and just has its own energy here. But within that, we have flowers, faces on either side of the central vase. Again, he started his career as a ceramic artist, so containers, vases, vessels appear in a lot of his painted work as well. Fish are a common theme, as well as birds, other animals. This figure, which might be a tiger-ish, some sort of thing. Flowers are often very common. And some of these reflect Gert Mathiesen's biography. Some of them reflect his own interests, just as what attracted him throughout his life. He was born in Esbjerg and grew up there in Denmark, which is a coastal community. So he was very familiar with the sea and the fishing life. And so the fish theme that we see in a lot of his works can reflect that from his childhood and upbringing. The flowers and the interest in floral forms is also found in a lot of these pieces. And that could be both a personal interest of his and reflecting the beauty of nature, but also a very personal connection with his own family. One of his sisters is a professional floral designer, and so clearly the whole family has had a very deep interest in the beauty found in flowers. That same themes can be found in the birds, in the faces, and in all of the influences in a lot of these pieces. We can look at the blue work, very different color palette, very different mood, but a lot of the same themes and a lot of the same imagery. The tiger faces or the bear faces, the human faces and vessels and flowers in a very different arrangement, but still reflecting his interests and expression as an artist. And then we have these two massive canvases here, which are collaborative works between Gert and his wife, Pamela Smilo. Pam is an American artist, and they met in the 1980s and continued their own artistic careers, but often collaborated together on works, whether large canvases like this. Pam was also a ceramic artist who expanded into two-dimensional work as well. And so both in large scale and in a range of prints and other series, they often worked together, and these two are examples of that. And to show the two artists together, we also have a self-portrait of the artist and a portrait of his wife, Pam. Pam here on the top, and a self-portrait of Gert Mathiesen on the bottom. here's some more examples of the art by Gert Mathiesen that is in the galleries right now. These two pieces are part of what's referred to as the Egyptian series, and you can see kind of the style of maybe printed fabrics, printed cottons from Egypt or other cultures. But looking closely, you can still see vases, flowers, faces, birds, some of the same themes being treated in a way that really changes the priorities and the kind of visual attraction of these works. So experimenting with the color blocks and the balance between just the colors and the actual forms and the line drawings. Lots of layers behind these. In another medium, we have this long piece of carved linoleum, which we're mostly familiar with as a floor covering, but Gert Mathiesen used linoleum often as a medium for prints on rice paper, and in this case, he used it as the piece of work itself. This was a commissioned work by a French bakery in New York City, and they installed it basically as wainscoting on the wall of their bakery. They had their own list of themes and motifs that they wanted to include, and so we can see a lot of those, like the Eiffel Tower of Paris. Remember, it was a French bakery, as well as some of the fish that we've seen in Gert's previous work, the flowers and vases. There's a pig, not with wings, but looks like it's kind of flying in the sky, and these other kind of culinary themes coming through, appropriate to the space for which that was designed. The works and the colors and the scale all represent this artist with a lot of life and interest and an embrace of so many different aspects of the world around him. A final piece to focus on for this exhibition is this piece called Rust Tree of Life, which is a favorite of a lot of both staff and visitors here at the museum. And it really brings together a lot of themes that are present in the works in this show, but maybe in a more narrative fashion. This, we know from Pam, Gert's wife, that this was inspired actually directly after Hurricane Sandy, when the hurricane and the storm had really had a huge impact on the landscape and certainly the natural materials around New York and throughout the mid-Atlantic. But Gert had been driving back to New York and had called Pam and said, "Pam, I just saw the most beautiful tree full of birds." And he came back and he painted this piece. And it's just a wonderful, almost kind of a resurrection of the power of nature to recover from a storm, even a superstorm, with the blossoms on the trees and the birds. And even though the blossoms might be falling to the ground, these birds are a reminder of the life that will come out of the ground in the next season. Gert Mathiesen unfortunately died suddenly at the age of 62 while he was in Denmark visiting his sister. But we are thrilled to share his work with our visitors and with you, and enjoy the legacy of artwork that he has left for us all to share. We hope you'll visit the museum to see this exhibition, open between now and October 31st, and learn more about this artist and the legacy he lives through color and form and the art on the walls.